Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second season of WPPM podcast, and I'm very happy to have Jose again.
Thank you.
You were my first guest in the first episode of WPPM podcast, and it's very nice to have you now on campus for the second season. How's it going?
Everything is good. Changed jobs meanwhile. So I'm working as a wind power consultant at Sweco
Okay.
for the past 8 or 9 months now. So not working only with floating offshore, but also with onshore wind. So it's interesting, and I'm working with a full scope of wind power, not only early stage as prior.
Okay, something which can be very interesting for me is the difference between the academic environment and industry. What's the biggest challenge and what's the biggest difference between these two environments for working?
I think the biggest difference is that the industry is very fast paced. So you need to work fast, and decisions are taken also fast. In academia, things are slower, tend to take a little bit more time, especially if you are involved with research and applying for grants, and to get those kind of decisions, they take much longer. So I'll say that overall, it's that. On the other side, academia is much more detailed, than you have to look at things with more detail than sometimes in industry. You analyze things, but then you do it fast.
Okay.
So you're not looking at the very elementary things. You just want to know that you are good to go.
Okay. Now, in Sweco, are you working with floating?
A little bit.
A little bit.
So Sweco, I work with both technical and project management issues. Well, I work as a wind power consultant, so I cannot really reveal the name of the companies I'm working with, but I work with onshore siting and project management of onshore projects, a lot with all the necessary calculations for the EIA.
Okay. So the projects are more in development phase now.
Exactly. So it's not project. It's prior to construction.
Okay.
But I'm now also working technical project management for offshore.
What does that mean? Technical project management. That's fancy name.
It is fancy name indeed. But I mean, it means that you are mostly concerned with the technical aspects of offshore wind, and not so much with the traditional project management, which is more focused with complying with the timeline, with the budget. Of course, the technical project management also has to do that, but it's normally the project management manager per se more interested in getting consent for their wind farm, as a technical helps out looking at the technical questions that are necessary, for example, for the environmental impact assessment.
Okay. Technical questions. Can you give us one example or two examples?
They can vary largely.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be questions of, for example, if you have a problem in the wind turbine and you have oil leakage, how much oil are you looking into that can, be in the water? And
that's kind of a risk assessment.
Well, somehow, but it's more trying to understand for the environmental impact assessment what are some technical questions that can actually lead to environmental problems. So let's say that you look into floating. What are the anchor mooring systems that you are going to utilize, and how do they impact the seabed? For example, that can be a question that you need to answer as a technical project manager.
Okay, I have some questions from the students. I mean, you answered them thoroughly in your lecture with them, but I mean, it can be interesting for people who are listening or watching this podcast. So, what is the current status of the floating wind industry?
Yes, there's two projects that exist, the parks. So one in Scotland, iWind, so a Sparboy platform, and it's 5 turbines, 6 megawatts each. So it's already a park. It's not a pilot. And I think it was developed into 2017. So it's been already ongoing, operational for a while. There's another one called the Windfloat Atlantic in Portugal. It's 3 turbines, Vestas machines, 8.4 megawatt, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a bit of a smaller project, but they have a semi-submersible platform.
Yeah,
it's slightly different technology. Also not pilot, because 3, so I can say that it's already a park. But as far as my knowledge goes, there's a lot of pilots in different places and utilizing different platform technologies. But these are the 2 parks that are existing at the moment.
How long do you think we have to wait to gather enough information to talk on firm basis about floating technology, like in O&M and every aspect of it?
It will take some time, I think. I mean, it's a very green or immature technology. So I think it needs to be scaled up for us to have enough data to analyze different things and to understand some certain aspects of floating wind.
So when we have a question here about like risks in floating, when we are talking about risks in floating, we have a lot of uncertainty, so we can consider everything as a risk.
No, I mean, there are a lot of things that you already know from the offshore business.
Oil and gas.
Oil and gas, but also wind as well, that are very similar. So for full environmental impact assessment, there are a few things that are particular to floating wind, but I mean, mostly it's about the offshore environment, and that you already know. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of similarities in terms of technology itself and how the floating platform behaves itself. I think that's the largest question marks that we have at the moment. Okay,
very interesting. Let me move on to the next question. Oh my God, we have a lot of questions. Are there specific regulatory or permitting considerations unique to floating?
Yes and no. I mean, it's basically the same considerations as you have for bottom fixed. But a lot of the bottom fixed sites, they are located in territorial waters, and they respond to a certain regulatory framework, and floating goes farther away from the coast. So most of floating developments being done or planned to be done in EEZ or exclusive economic zone, and there you might have specific regulations that are different. But I know that there are a lot of governments looking into streamlining this process, so you have everything in one go and don't need to respond to different authorities in order to obtain your consent.
Okay. Since you are a professional developer, I have one question.
I'm not a professional developer.
Come on. I have one question for myself. So, when you see the plans mostly in consultation meetings, you see from different companies that they have this, how hypothetical huge turbines. Once I saw like 32 megawatt turbine in a consultation meeting. I asked, what is your proof? And they say, oh, okay, this project is going to be done in like 10, 15 years. So maybe we will have something like that. But do you see any optimal point that we can say, that, okay, this is the stop. We can't have like bigger than this?
It's difficult to say. Of course, you can look into the literature and what has been developed in relation to that. And there's a lot of, as a developer, you need to look into the future. You cannot just say that you are going to deploy 6 megawatt machines if they already exist in the market. Then you need to think a little bit beyond that. 25 megawatt or 30 megawatt machines, as you said, it's probably going to be what's in the market in 10 years. There's a lot of uncertainty, of course, but it's probably going to be that. And as a developer, then you need to look into the future. It's the same that happened 10 years ago when bottom fixed was being planned and 6 megawatt machines, for example, didn't exist. 5 megawatt machines. People were just extrapolating from their knowledge. I think it's feasible. When to stop, I don't know. But I believe it's feasible, at least until 25 or 30. More than that, so far at least. I don't know.
Okay, 30 is huge. It's very huge. But now one other question. So, do you use these hypothetical turbines also in your feasibility study?
You can use that, especially if you're looking into offshore, because it gives you more possibility to utilize larger turbines. But of course, when you do a feasibility study, normally, now I'm working as a consultant, normally what you get from whoever the developer, whoever is asking you to perform the study, they already provided the guidelines. They say, we want a 7.2 megawatt machine. And then you perform the assessments with that machine. So, of course, you can provide as well some know-how and provide some suggestions. But that's what you can do. Yeah. Sometimes it's difficult as well to get information on a power curve for a turbine of 25 megawatts, as you mentioned before. Yeah, so you need to balance these two things and try to find a optimal way to go forward.
Okay, that happens when you are working in a state-of-the-art industry. Okay, my last question will be the question that I ask, that we ask. Now we have different hosts in the podcast, happily. So, do you have any word with the prospective students or the students of the program?
I definitely see a need of qualified people, because I mean the wind industry, mainly offshore, is booming at the moment. There's so much development and there's so much lack of qualified people, people that have the know-how to provide the right answers. So I would say yes, and as being part previously of the program myself, both as a student and as a lecturer, it's my belief that this program is very complete because it provides you an interdisciplinary view of wind power project management. So it's not only focused on the technological issues, but also on the economical side, on the planning side per se, environmental issues, cultural issues. So it tries to cover everything, and I think it's a very good fit for anyone that is interested in progressing, their career or turning their career into wind power project management or wind power, the wind power sector.
Okay, that was great. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Great to see you again.